Our next speaker is Tanya Murkes. She will discuss the subject of gender and foreign policy. Tanya is the CEO of the Dvorah Forum and works with the Security Council and creates security networks for women in the context of foreign policy. She's been working for over 10 years in the area of public diplomacy and policy. Tanya, I'm very happy that you're here. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm a little bit hoarse. I don't usually sound like this, so I apologize. We are marking this coming week 21 years since the UN Security Council resolution. The forum was established in wake and in the 2000 the resolution was decided on, and we are marking its anniversary. So I decided to talk about the trends that are related to gender and diplomacy and foreign policy, according to various articles of this resolution. I think it could be relevant. So those who don't know, the resolution in fact calls for gender equality for women, where peace and security are concerned, to participate in the making of decisions. And there are a number of different aspects to this, and I will discuss them all and discuss the various areas of where there has been developments and advancement in the areas of there are developments, but we are very far from an ideal situation. And around the world, there are national programs for the implementation of the resolution. I looked to see, as of September of this year, there are 78 programs, national programs, but Israel does not yet have a national program. And that relates, but it's in development. And I'm happy to say that since, as I said, it's the 20th anniversary, we have seen the appointment of a woman ambassador, Rav Schechter, to implement the program, and she is leading this program. So what does protection mean? There are extreme cases where war and peace impact people in different ways, and women are harmed more by sexual violence, gender violence during wars, and there is an international need to protect women in areas of conflict and war. I seen this in the context of Afghanistan and Corona. The rapid exit from Afghanistan did not do much to help women in Afghanistan. And it's surprising because on the ground, there were quite a lot of gender groups of the allies who had been working there for many years to ensure women's rights, to enable them to take part in the security forces and all issues related to education. But with everything that happened, a vacuum was created, and the ground wasn't prepared for the day after. What would happen when the Taliban would take over? So after the forces withdrew. There were efforts to get women out, and various there were specific women who were named that needed to be taken out, people who had helped the allies in Afghanistan and to get them out. And clearly the Taliban are not keeping their word where women's rights are concerned. We were told that this was a slightly different Taliban this time, more modern, and that it wouldn't push women out of centers of decision making, but that is not the situation on the ground. And women are unable to travel to work, to be in public places, and school, and so on. And what's happening in the rest of the world, with the exception of assistance delegations and humanitarian help. And there are what about women's rights in return for financial help? It's a moral dilemma whether to preserve and safeguard women's rights and to insist on keeping women in decision-making positions, or to halt the financial assistance to Afghanistan and cause an even more serious food crisis than already exists. So that's a serious moral dilemma that's being discussed in various international forums. I'll tell you what's not being done. There are no negotiations. Negotiations with the Taliban don't involve women. And we saw that before the withdrawal of the forces, and now too, and that's of course ridiculous. And a more positive aspect, we see international cooperation regarding this protection of women. If we take the matter of Corona, it is not a war or a conflict, but clearly it was an international crisis, and there was international collaboration and cooperation. And there were national and international crises around this, and there was an understanding that violence against women and gender violence was a problem in all of the countries, not only in the developing world. And it is, one can learn from different countries regarding this subject. One example, Israel can perhaps boast and be proud. Israel appeared in a UN forum regarding various technologies to fight gender violence. Regarding participation, here too, we are seeing positive trends where we see there are more women involved in elections. There are 7 British women ambassadors, and they deliberately placed women in key positions. No, there are simply more women who are part of the managerial cadre in foreign ministries, and in Israel we're seeing that too. And I can say that from talks today, I'll say bravo to the CEO of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who's doing a very good job to advance more women to senior positions in Israel's foreign service. And in the Israeli Foreign Service, the situation is still not great in terms of the most senior positions. There are 22 women ambassadors out of 100 plus, about 18%. And when we talk about delegates, there are 7 of 19 CEOs, not bad. And there are over 40% heads of departments. So we're seeing that the serious problem is at the the highest level of ambassadors and consuls. And I know that the CEO of the Foreign Affairs is doing a very good job to see where the barriers are to the advancement of women to the most senior positions in the ministry. And I hope that we will soon see the results of this staff work. And over the years, we will see a change because there are changes in the ministry and we're seeing more women. It will take time unless active changes are made, proactive changes of appointments of specific women. I'm sorry to say that we're seeing of exclusion of women in terms of participation, that there are not many women involved in negotiations for peace agreements, for example, in the Abraham Accords and in the normalization agreements. There was exclusion of women in terms of numbers. There weren't enough women that participated in sitting around the negotiating table. And if they did take part, they were not photographed. I can say about myself, a case that I saw regarding the agreement with Bahrain, that the Israeli mission, only the men who were members of the delegation were photographed. I think it is indicative of a lack of awareness or perhaps a more serious problem. And we're not seeing women participating in such significant aspects of the negotiations. I'd like to talk about gender mainstreaming, and that is looking at different aspects from different perspectives of different populations, different population groups. And I'd like to say on a positive note that in recent years, there's a trend of gender mainstreaming in Israel and the world. There's something called feminist foreign policy, where foreign policy is looked at from different perspectives. As I noted, the health crisis and Corona, which is included, absolutely included in areas that are discussed and managed on a senior level, the matters of national resilience, education. In Israel, there is an advisory committee to the National Security Council, and it's looking to see what's happening around the world. And I have also consulted to that committee, and there are some very nice collaborations on this subject. The creation of civil society and various third sector organizations with government work. But here too, there's still a great deal of work to do. Where the implementation of a national program for Israel, there isn't a program yet. So I hope next year at this conference, we'll be able to talk about such a program and how it's being implemented in Israel. And I think the collaboration that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is leading with the other ministries is very positive, and together with various organizations of civil society. And that's it. Thank you very much.